What's up YouTube? It's Will here, and today I have my contacts in and I'm going to talk about something really important. And what that is pretty much how rejection is something that a lot of successful people in a lot of areas, especially dating, well, they have a completely different mindset from the people who are unsuccessful. Now, here's how it goes. I think it's more than the fact that um, they don't really emphasize rejection or they care about rejection. It's more so the whole idea that they go through a lot of rejection every day, um, because they're willing to go through that and it's not a big deal for them. The people who are unsuccessful, especially in dating, oftentimes they're the ones who are so amped up on getting rejected that they don't even try in the first place. So if you don't take the swing in the first place, your chances are 0%. Whereas the ones in business or in life who actually try and go up to a new company and propose their idea, despite being shot down multiple times. I mean, look at J.K. Rowling. Her book, the Harry Potter series, was rejected multiple times, dozens of times from what I've heard from publishers, before it got accepted. And now she's one of the richest novelists in the world. And this goes to so many areas as well. I can think of another book just like that. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. That book is huge now. And this guy never figured out how awesome it was because he died before the books really took off. So it's really down to just swinging the bat and knowing who you are and being proud of yourself inside, and just not being affected by the outcome because you know you are a good person. So if a girl shoots me down, I'm still content inside because I'm proud of myself. I know who I am. I'm not ashamed of who I am. And just because someone doesn't like me, it doesn't mean that I'm not awesome. Alright, sorry guys, my camera died and so now I have to use this camera. So basically what I was saying was that rejection comes in many different forms, and really, if I could give my younger self advice, it would simply be, don't take it so seriously. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to die because of it. And quite frankly, that's what I would tell my younger self. I've been through lots of rejections, and I feel like most successful people have as well. And that's the biggest distinguishing thing. It's not just that they don't care about rejection. It's actually the fact that they experience it, and they're willing to, and they do experience it on a day-to-day basis for many times in a row just to get to that end result. And that's something you're going to have to go through, which leads me to the 4 events that occurred today that were rejections in some people's eyes. Now, Julian from RSD, he says that he doesn't really believe in rejection because people categorize all these different forms of rejection, and it really doesn't mean much because first off, you're not going to be embarrassed or you're not going to die from rejection. And I feel like it's evolutionarily programmed in us to sort of think that, because maybe 100 or 1,000 years ago, when we lived in a tribe, it could mean potential death, or at least death for your potential progeny or descendants. If you screwed up with one girl, then there's only 5 others in the village, and that one girl is going to tell all the others in the village. However, today we categorize it as stuff like getting the cold shoulder from the girl when you approach, or just a girl liking you but refusing to be your girlfriend, or a girl hooking up with you but never wanting to see you again or regretting the action. Or maybe rejection from marriage. Some people, they're having it good with the girl. This girl's your girlfriend and stuff like that, and she's really into you. Then you pop the question, and she slaps you in the face, and she leaves. This has happened multiple times on YouTube and has garnered millions of views. Look it up for yourself. Just search up failed wedding proposal on YouTube. This sort of stuff happens. And quite honestly, some of these events, you will get embarrassed, but you're going to brush it off and move on. That's the biggest thing. And let's look outside of dating in general. Let's look at business and getting a book accepted by a publishing firm. It's not like when you get rejected by business, when you present some sort of idea, they're all just going to stop, and the entire world's going to stop and laugh at you, embarrass you, and then you're going to have a miserable life forever. Maybe for a split second you might feel a little uncomfortable, but then you move on. And quite honestly, having approached dating first, all the other stuff seems so ridiculous. Like, why are you scared of rejection from a freaking publishing firm, or some business proposal failed? Who cares? You don't know these people. I've gone through rejection with girls. I've gone through some crazy ones, and 4 that I'm going to talk about today. And that has always been, at least for me, the pinnacle, the hardest road to catch. And I've always felt like if I could do this, then I could do everything else, because it's the hardest thing. And this is actually something where there's, like, if I would gauge everything and determine what would give the most embarrassment and potential humiliation, it would be this: approaching girls, not approaching a business firm and getting rejected with an idea. And so that leads me to the first event. These aren't in order, but the biggest event that happened today. So I was at the gym. I had put on my contacts for the first time in a long time. I was looking good, feeling good. And granted, these 4 events weren't the only things that happened in my life today, but they were the most interesting, you could say. And yeah, it's not like that's all that happened today. But they weren't negative, but there's obviously positive stuff that happened today too. And so I was at the gym, and I'd actually felt really accomplished because I'd done a lot of workout for once, rather than something stupid like video games. So from there, I was feeling good. That was a positive. I saw this girl who I had approached like 2-3 times before on campus, and both of those approaches were stupid, like 2-second approaches that I quickly shuffled out of. It went something like, "You look really familiar," and she was like, "Nope." And then I was like, "Oh, sorry," and then I left. And I did that like 2 to 3 times over an extended period of time. Anyhow, I'd forgotten about it. I saw this girl, I recognized her, and I told myself, are you going to be another coward? Or are you going to try again? Because that girl was smiling each of those approaches. Despite you screwing them up, she was smiling. And looking back, I realized like she was definitely putting off a vibe that she wasn't interested, but she was smiling still. And so I went up to her again, and surprise, surprise, I would have thought she would have given me a horrid reaction, seeing me from my experiences before. But she was actually very receptive. She was like, "Hey, how are you?" And from there, I proceeded to screw it up. Now, most people would take rejections and all they'd learn from it is, "Oh, that girl was a bitch. I did nothing wrong. Life sucks." And that's not how you proceed. In every area, business or other things, you want to learn from your mistakes. Otherwise, you're not progressing. And granted, but I'm pretty darn sure that there's definitely people out there who are super good looking and probably would have had a lot easier time with these girls. And this girl would have engaged a lot more in the conversation. But still. So I went up to her. She said, "Hey, how are you?" She was really receptive, really good looking, which was, very intimidating. Brunette and stuff. And she was like laying down doing her yoga thing. And I said some stupid stuff that I will now try and fix if it ever happens again. I again sort of froze, and I was like, "How are you?" And before she could respond, I went into stuff like, the stuff I've said before. "Where do I know you from again?" And she was like, "I don't know. I can't remember. And she obviously knew. In her face was like, yeah, you've approached me 3 or 4 times with the same fucking line. Excuse me for cursing. But she was like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then I can't remember, but I think I said something like, what was your major? And she spouted out something I can't remember. And then from there, I was just like frozen in place because I didn't want to leave. I wanted to continue the conversation, but I wouldn't let myself leave even though I couldn't think of anything to say. And she was just like there, like, I mean, granted, she wasn't really trying too much to continue the conversation. So it was really hard. And then I kind of left. And obviously, go figure, there just happened to be, there may have been other people watching, but there was definitely this Asian guy who was skinnier than me, but very cocky. Like he was skinnier than me at the gym, but like trying all these weights and stuff. Like I saw him like for a half hour before, like putting on all these weights, and then like showing off, and then doing like one set of like 2 reps, and then like moving on. And then he spent like half the time at the gym talking to his equally skinny Asian friend, and he was just really cocky and arrogant. And he was like he was standing there, obviously not doing his workout, and he was watching me, and he was kind of like, this guy got rejected. And that was kind of embarrassing, but from what I've learned, most people in life, when they see me do this sort of stuff, I feel like they're most likely jealous, or they want to do it themselves, but they're too scared to do it. And this guy, just based on his reaction, I guarantee he told his friend, and I guarantee, based on like his body language, he kind of felt like he wanted to do it himself. And on top of that, he was like, oh, I can't do it. I would never do that now because this guy got rejected. And I learned from that because obviously, I mean, granted, some of you girls who watch my videos might be like, oh, what a horrid girl. And a lot of you girls who are subscribers sort of side with me a lot. But honestly, if I approached you in the same way and barely said anything and was sort of like weird and didn't really talk, so a lot of you might have done the same sort of thing. Granted, some of you might have had the courage to sort of elicit conversation yourself and continue it. But honestly, like, let's say it happened, like I had approached you 3 or 4 times before that with some stupid one-liner. So it's a lesson to learn. You got to bring personality and bring conversation to the table. You have to drive the conversation when you go up and approach, and not be just a dead fish and flounder, which I've had a problem with. Moving on to the next 2 rejections. I wouldn't even consider them rejections. Some would. These happen at the gym as well. One was a girl I had talked to before a couple of times. I've approached just on friendly terms, and the first time was decent. It was just very friendly, and she was really receptive. The second time, I sort of chickened out and went in with the, do I know you from somewhere? That's a huge problem. I don't, God knows why I do that. And then finally, I went up to her this time, and guarantee you what happened was I scared her out of my mind with my inconfident body language. Like, she was on one of those running machines, and I just wanted to stop in and say hi and then leave. But I went in with my sort of horrid body language. Like, looking back, it was very shy and like scared. It was definitely not confident. But at the time, I thought I was doing all right. I went up to her and I said hi and stuff like that. And she saw me, and then she went like this. She literally ignored me. And I was like, I at that point I really wanted to know if she was really ignoring me or just didn't see me. So I literally went like, hi, and I waved in front of her face a couple times. And she literally straight up ignored me. Like, it was blatantly, purposefully. And a lot of people would be like, oh, that is so cold, dude. You must be so embarrassed. And I was like, dang. So I was just like, I just left. But honestly, like, first off, who's this girl to me? Like, she's just a girl. She was very receptive to begin with. And granted, who knows? Maybe if I was a lot handsomer, a lot more awesome, or a lot more confident, I would have had a lot different reaction. And some people would be like, that kind of sucks because you were being yourself, as a lot of dating coaches say. Because myself is naturally unconfident, which a lot of people won't understand because I've sort of grown to be a lot more confident in certain ways. Again, in other ways, I'm still not confident. And people might be like, how dare you change yourself? If you're shy, you should be yourself and keep being shy. And I was being myself there. And that's sort of my reasoning behind it. Like, I think there's a lot more benefits to being confident, and that's why I feel like changing myself to be confident. And it just feels better overall. And so my whole lesson from that is, no, that girl was not a cold-hearted person. Granted, if she was receptive to me or nice to me in the future, I don't think I would return anything back to her. For whatever reason, like I'm just not feeling the vibe anymore. Because she literally was just cold to me. Like, she blatantly ignored me on purpose. If you guys want to know what she was like, she was blonde, and she was white, and she was typically the very good looking blonde girl. And so, granted, like, I think confidence is definitely one big thing. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. I mean, she wasn't that good looking. And yeah, I'm going to stop talking now because it feels like I'm just being very bitter about this, but I'm not. Okay. And then right after her, it may be just because I was bitter about it, or not entirely, but I wanted to move on from it, so I didn't dwell on it. And I noticed another girl who I wanted to approach, but she just so happened to be sitting on a yoga mat, which was very close to the freaking treadmill thing. And I was like, what the heck, dude? What should I do? I don't want to be some sort of show off. I'm not trying to make a point here or trying to show off to this girl, because the girl who literally just gave me the cold shoulder would have definitely seen if I went up and approached this other girl. And basically, I ended up doing it anyways because, like, I don't have a lot of options, let's be frank here. And so I went up and did it. And I just did it for fun. Like, I really would have rather not had the girl who had cold shouldered me previously so close and most likely saw the interaction. But I did it anyways, not to make a point or show off to the girl who cold shouldered me. I just went up and I also went in really unconfident. And I went in sort of indirectly and I was like, hi, how many push-ups are you, or crunches are you doing? And I just started peppering her with questions immediately. And, like, I didn't, simply put, I still sucked at it. And the lesson is, be more confident, because, like, a lot of you girl subscribers oftentimes you side with me and you're like, oh, how can these girls always be so cruel to you? And first off, not all girls are cruel to you. Just the one. I make a lot of videos because those are the most interesting stories. Second off, I mean, if I approach you, yes, you, the girl subscriber who's viewing this video, and I came off just as unconfident and just immediately started peppering you with questions, guarantee you probably wouldn't have that great a reaction either. So the lesson was I didn't come in confident, and I sort of should have started out with an introduction, and maybe even started off with why I'm going up to talk to her, like maybe started with a compliment or something. But I was just too scared to do that, and I went right into questions. And sometimes even if you go in indirectly like that with like a compliment about her, she's not feeling it. So I was kind of sick of that, and yeah, from there she sort of like, she was shy, but she wasn't really that into it. Looking back, I think she may have just been really shy, and it wasn't that she wasn't like receptive. But at that point, I sort of took it as she wasn't interested. Looking back, she was just sort of shy. She didn't really talk too much back to me. And I sort of like left from there after asking her a lot of stuff and saying a little bit about me, like you're going to motivate me to do some crunches and stuff like that. And then finally, the last one is probably it's not even a rejection. And what it was I saw this girl at the cafeteria, blonde sorority girl, and I was like, let's just do this for fun. It took me a while, but I manned up, and I did the whole Jenna Marbles thing. So Jenna Marbles is a YouTuber, and she made a whole video on how to make pickup lines less predictable and more fun. So I was like, let's just do it. And the most common pickup line is, are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see. And so what I was going to do was, before I finished it, I was just going to be like, oh, just give me your number. Something like that. Jenna Marbles, she suggests you doing something like interrupt it or just immediately cut it off and say something very sexual. And I didn't have the balls to do something like that. Not really that. It was just like, it's not that I didn't have the balls, because I would have done it. It's just, if I did something like that, it's a lot more straightforward and to the point. And going so quick sexually in the daytime is just going to turn off the girl a lot, or sometimes offend them real quickly. It's not like doing it at night at like a bar or something like that. So Jenna Marbles' version would be something like, are you from Tennessee? Because I just want to screw you in the butt, or something like that. Excuse the language, but that's what Jenna Marbles uses. And she doesn't use screw, and she doesn't use butt. She uses the F word. As you can tell, I'm still a very sort of goody two-shoes guy. But the point is, I went up and said something like, are you from Tennessee? And I went really slow after that. I said something like, are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10. Just give me your number. And after she said that, she actually gave a response that happens quite a lot. She says, did someone put you up to this? And I guess it's just because most girls don't really think a guy has enough, courage to actually just do that on his own. So I told her something like, no, I just thought it was really funny. I don't think she believed me, but she was like, oh yeah, but regardless, she said something like, well, that was hilarious. And right when she was saying it, or actually before, this guy swoops in. Like, she was standing there, like, just waiting, I guess, for her friend. And this actually happens quite a lot with attractive girls. My theory is that a lot of dudes are either very quick to be overprotective, or they're just jealous, or most likely they don't have the balls to sort of approach until someone has to begin with, and that sort of spurs them to do something like this. So this guy comes in real quick, and he puts his arm around him and her, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then she's like, "Hey," and I'm just like, it didn't. I didn't even react to it, and so I was just like, I was smiling and laughing. I was like, "I'll see you later," and then I just sort of left. And that's, I don't know if I'm just unlucky, but my main theory is that really attractive girls just get approached a lot, and not necessarily by guys who are blatantly hitting on them. From my experience, most of them come in super platonically. They're pretty much like, "Oh yeah, you're just my friend," but obviously they're not. I mean, you can tell based on the body language, but verbally it's very platonically. And it's not just girls. I mean, it's not just guys. They'll be approached by girls and a lot of stuff. So they're just naturally a lot more popular. Just naturally, just walking around. I mean, when I walk around with my glasses, not a thing. Not a thing. Barely get approached or talked to in months. If I do, it's usually from some adult who's looking for directions to somewhere. So it's just very interesting. Like, girls tend to get a lot more attention. Not always. Like, some girls don't. And like, I wasn't really that like put off by it, because like, I feel like the more makeup and stuff they put on, the more sort of attention like that they'll get. But those who are naturally good looking, like this girl, she was good looking, but I wouldn't say she was naturally the best looking. I feel like the most naturally good looking girls, they just I don't know. My theory is that they don't get approached as much because it's intimidating. I don't know. Maybe that's false. I do think though that they do get they're just a lot more popular. You always see them hanging around friends. They're always walking with friends. It's kind of weird. And so my whole point is just take it easy. And the whole thing is, after all that, you just come back home and you talk to your friends, and they are just as receptive to you. And a lot of times, I don't even tell them; they don't even know. So they're just as receptive to you. Most people don't even know. I've talked to my friends and other girls who I'm just friends with after a rejection, and they didn't even know about it, they didn't see it, they didn't experience it, and the world continues to spin. And they're just as nice to me, and they're just as receptive, and they're just as awesome to me, and they have no idea that this one random stranger was a complete cold-hearted, horrible, I don't want to say person, but they just weren't feeling it at the moment, you could say. That's all I have to say. I'm really curious to see if anyone's actually watched all 30 minutes of this. I doubt it, but there you have it. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Peace.